Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli here with a good buddy of mine, fellow Molix pro staffer, Carl Jochimson, and my son Vegas is here to listen to this great advice. Carl, I want to talk frog fishing. You've got to develop and design with Molix some new frogs. You did one last year. You got a new one this year.
Yep.
I want to talk about both of them, and this one's special. This one, not only in the way it looks, but the way it works. And this is the Sneaky Frog.
Yep.
What's the deal with this thing? I know the deal, but tell everybody what the deal with this thing is.
So, yeah, quite a few years ago, I had a lot of experiences with frog fishing, and I used to be under the impression that a frog was a frog. You'd go out there, you'd see these mats, it would look amazing for frog fishing. You would tie your favorite frog on, you would throw it, and if they didn't eat it, they weren't on a frog.
Yeah.
But I learned that quite a few times. I thought that on a frog, I was fishing a particular frog. The guy at the back of the boat was fishing a different one, and he would get a ton of bites, or I would get a ton of bites, he would get none, and we'd swap colors, trade colors. But until you put that exact frog on, they didn't want it. The tiny little just changes and sounds that these make, you can make them bite on a frog when they're not on a frog if you give them what they really want. And this it's not really a frog. It can be a frog, but it's everything. They mistake this thing for so many different animals that they eat off the surface, from birds, shad, bluegill, and frogs. That's what makes this special. But they sent me this body design a couple years ago, and they said, hey, check out this Sneaky Frog, and it was ready to go. And I tied it on, and I fished it, and I immediately called them, sent them an email and said, don't put this into production yet. Let me make some changes because I think you've got something really, really special. And the main key straight away was this centered weight. So majority of the frogs are going to have a weight towards the back, or underneath the hooks or above the hooks, and that's going to make it sit sort of down, and it's going to walk, but it's going to walk forward in long style walks. So this centered weight is going to give it a pivot point to be able to just spin on itself. I can make this spin 180 by tapping it, and it will spit the water. I'll spit water one way, and it creates a lot of commotion. So I can sit it over the top of those bedding fish and annoy them until they eat. And then, like you said, we can fish it like a spook. It walks amazing.
So it walks so good.
I've found it really good in pad situation where a lot of the time when you're trying to walk a little frog and you've got big spaces, you're taking forever, and it's taking a lot of time to try and like walk it. Where this, you can do big walks, cover that ground, kill it, and then I can spin it over like the most likely spot. So if I get in a little hole like this, thick pads, I'll get it to that hole, and I'll keep it in that little tiny hole for as long as I can, just
because that walk is so left and right.
Yeah, it's not walking forward. It's
staying
walking
in one spot.
And that is its number one key why it gets so many bites. The other one is a single tail. So when you got two, you got a lot of drag. So you got two tails trying to turn at the back. When you got one, it allows it to spin a lot easier. And then the other one is just the body design. A standard frog is almost half the size, but it doesn't have the thickness to give it a huge bait. I've caught tons of 2 and 3 pounders on the Sneaky Frog, but it gets big ones. Like big ones bite it and they eat it. And it casts a mile with the weight design. There's just so many things to this that people should have one in their tackle box.
And I want to tell everybody watching, this frog, the Sneaky Frog, it's not just for slop. It's not just for pads. It's not just those normal frog situations. Imagine throwing a spook, a walking style bait, under a dock. This allows you to do it. I've had some days fishing wood and docks with this.
Yep.
It's like the fish have never seen a bait that walks under that stuff. It's sickening.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
So that's the Molix Sneaky Frog. But now I want to give you guys a glimpse into this is, in my opinion, a real game changer. And Carl, this is, I call it a hybrid frog.
Yep.
But we were out this morning fishing. I was fishing a little Sneaky Frog, and I caught some.
Yep.
But we got heavy mat slop out here, real nasty, gnarly black death mats out here right now. And they were going nuts for this thing. It was doing something special.
Yeah.
Talk to me about this thing. What's this called, too?
This is called the Super NATO Frog, again from Molix. That's what I love about Molix. They're willing to really go outside the box work on lures that just aren't out there and haven't been proven yet. They just want to find something different. This thing has been around for a while. A lot of guys are using something similar, but they have to cut apart frogs, use different legs, all sorts of things. And I just wanted to really build a frog that worked and had the right tails and the right design, and everything was sort of perfect for this tail. I wasn't sure about this tail when that first came out, when I first looked at it, but when I swam it, it's as soon as I dragged it a foot, I was like, oh, this is something, this is special. So the frog body is very similar to anything you'll get, but it's super soft. It doesn't fill up with water. You can really fish it a long time. It's got a great double hook set there. But the key is it's basically interchangeable legs, so I can like squeeze this down and I can twist this out.
Look
and
at
then
that.
I can change the legs, so I can change colors, I can change the design. But after fishing this leg today with you, I'm convinced that the legs that we've come up with for the frog are the best ones that I've ever seen, ever fished. And I think today what we saw, most frogs, when you throw them over a heavy mat, they don't make a lot of sound, very subtle. So you got to really fish them. Those fish are really got to be on and really pick up on that lure being on top there and then hone in on it. This created a little bit more weight to the lure. It hung in the mat heavy, but when I was twitching it, it was these double tails were catching the water and spitting that water out. And Mike and I both saw the sound. It sounded just like a bluegill.
Just like a bluegill.
Had flicked out, and he was just panicking on top. And we were getting other bites, but it wasn't on fire. But when they were seeing this and finding it, they were big and they were choking it. I literally caught every one that wanted it. They honed in on it, found it, and then they ate it. And they ate it through the mat, and they ate it out in the open.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to make this really special. So I can cast it over a big long mat, and I can fish it in the mat, short, sharp pauses, and then when I get to those holes, I can drag it, and I've basically got like a toad style bait that will float. So most of the guys are going to throw a toad, they're going to buzz it, fish is going to try and eat it, they miss it, and then the lure sinks. This stays floating, and I can give it a short, sharp rip, and it's going to give you that bait fish sound, and they're going to come back and get it. So awesome lure for covering ground. But today was really the first day we gave it a huge go and saw some really special things happen with it.
This thing's going to be sick. To have a bait that's a cross between a hollow body frog and a toad, and to be able to make that sound in that mat, it's going to be unbelievable. Carl, thanks for joining us today, and thanks for talking about these frogs, man. I can't wait to shut this camera off so we can go back out and fish some more.
We're going back out there, so
everybody, check them out. 2 frogs by Molix that are game-changing, designed by one of the best in the world. Go out and try them. You're going to love them, and you're going to catch big bass. No better way to catch fish than on top of a frog, right, Vegas?
Mm-hmm.
All right. See you later, everybody.
See you guys.
See you.